this is my first question because I know that you were raised by a single mom that's a teacher as well.
Yes, my mom taught public school, 5th, 6th grade. She's retired now over the last couple of years, but she wants to see her grandkids more. But yes, she taught public school.
Yeah, mine did too. And when you went to public school, nobody ever did that for me. Like Shannon did, like her teacher. Did you ever have anything like that kind of assignment?
No, not really. I mean, I knew because that was my mother's reason for why I couldn't. Can we get the Star Trek toy? No, we can't afford it. It was always we can't afford it. So I just thought it was like we must be so poor. Because but she definitely well, she did have one lesson that she kind of tried to impart to me growing up. Well, I really wanted a dog when I was a kid. We lived in a little house in Boston, and a little block, and pretty normal, near a park, whatever. And my mom said, "You're not responsible enough to have a dog." I was 10. I was like, "I am responsible enough." She said, "You're right. I want you to show me that you can do this. You have to walk the dog every day, twice a day." And I said, "Well, okay, let's get the dog." And she goes, "No. First, you have to walk an imaginary dog." I was like, twice? I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Twice a day around the block as if you had the dog, so I know that you will do it and you're responsible enough to do it." So this woman, who I hope is watching, gave me a leash. And I had to walk around the block with an empty leash.
You look nuts.
Twice a day. And worse, we get to 3 weeks in, and she's like,
"No.
All right, forget it. I'm not giving you a dog."
No.
Yeah, so she taught me the lesson of disappointment.
Yeah, I was like, what? It's like all your hard work for nothing? That is not a good lesson.
Once she was like, "I didn't think you were going to follow through."
I was like, oh my God, so you never got the dog?
Well, I didn't get a dog, and then I thought I was so deprived, I did like the dumbest thing you can do, which that's the kind of thing you tend to do when you're 18, which is how old I was.
Yeah.
And as soon as I moved to LA and decided to be an actor and had no money and no job and lived in a tiny apartment like on Cherokee and Yucca over there in Hollywood, like I was like, I'm getting a dog. So I went out and got a dog. And not only get a dog, but I got a husky, which is like the most, if anyone has them, like, they only roam, they only want to escape.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's their like mission in life.
Yeah.
But then I quickly realized like, oh, you have to get the dog food. And like, the vet costs money.
Feed it.
All of a sudden, I'm kind of going broke on this dog. It has a sad ending to the story, though, which was that I used to leave the dog in a little space, shared space in the apartment when I went out to have some outdoor time, and the dog got stolen.
That's wrong.
They stole my dog. This was before the microchips and the stuff you can put in it. You can track them down.
Yeah.
Yes, so somebody stole the dog, but it's telling that I didn't rush out and get another dog.
You were like, you know what? The universe knew.
Yeah, somebody has spoken, and this is he probably was not living his best life with me. So
I did the same thing.
Had a very happy life on a farm in Montana somewhere.
I did the same thing though when I was young. I was like, I think when you're out here, because I moved out here too, and you want companionship or some kind of, you can't be lonely. So I did that too. It was a dumb move.
Yeah,
I ended up having
when you have the least money, the smallest place.
You make the poorest decisions.
And you're the dumbest. You're like, let me find another life that can depend on me.
Because I'm holding it down solidly like myself.
All right, come on, guys, let's go. We got 15 seconds left. We're gonna go on 8. Gives us time for a rebound or a tip in. Brandon, 20's gonna pick you up full court, all right? Freeze, you're gonna come up, set a ball screen for Brandon. Brandon, you roll around to the right. Garcia, come up, set a back screen for Kenny. Kenny, come out to the wing for the 3. That way we got 3 options. Brandon attacking right. We'll look for Freeze coming off the screen. If neither of those are there, go to Kenny for the 3 in the corner. You got this, okay? No, don't just nod. I want to hear your voice. Yes or no?
Yes, Coach.
Oh my God, such a great film. Welcome back. I'm here with Ben Affleck, and that was a clip from his new film, The Way Back, which opens tomorrow. So we'll talk about the film in a bit, but I did want to ask you, is it true that you speak Spanish, like fluently?
I would say passively.
Passively?
Yes.
I would love to even get to that point. I feel like I always try, but it's like unless you're like immersed around it like constantly, I feel like it's not gonna happen.
That's the best way to learn for sure. I mean, I did this like a little kids TV series when I was young, and when I was 13, that year was in Mexico.
Yeah.
And so I was in Mexico for a year, and that's how I picked it up. So I learned how to like.
Oh, when you were little too.
Yeah,
it's
and
easier
the brain
when you're younger.
When you're younger, yes, you get the like. the older brain doesn't hold on to the information.
And that
I wouldn't know myself, but that's what people have told me who are older.
We are both very young.
That's your memory does.
Do your kids speak Spanish? Because they teach all the languages now in schools, I feel like.
My daughter is 14.
Yes.
And she's always been a very good student, and she's been interested in Spanish, and so I often help her, and now she's just, all of a sudden she's got into the grade where she's like in the harder Spanish classes, and she's getting better, and she's like right at the point where I think she might be passing me. And that's why I was like, nope, this is not happening. I don't mind that I can't do your math homework. You're 14 years old.
But you will not be.
But you are not going to be better at Spanish than me. And so I've decided now I gotta like take classes. I gotta do something.
You gotta get a tutor
to keep up because I can't have my 14-year-old. She's like, that sounds ridiculous. You're not using the imperfect tense. I'm just like, I know 2 tenses, 3 tenses. Now, before, the future. That's all you need.
Yeah.
And also, the problem with Spanish is that you learn a bunch of words. Like I learned all these words in Mexico. Some good, some,
Yeah.
not for
I
the
was
show.
a waitress. I get it. Yeah.
And then you go somewhere else, like you go to Spain or you go to South America, and they're like, no, that's not Spanish. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not Spanish. And they go like, I've never heard that word before in my life. And it's just like, they say it in Mexico. In Mexico, they don't speak real Spanish. And then they're all like, you have a Mexican accent. I was like, I don't think I have a Mexican accent. But like, I mean, it's sort of like the Southern accent and the, here. It's a little bit more like Australia, England, and here, where like, you go to Australia and they're like, oh, Mike, the boobie-boo. Like, I don't know.
Oh, you're
what
good
is a
at all the
boobie-boo,
things. You're good at that.
Not really.
Is it just because you're exposed to it as an actor at a young age?
I did a lot of, I like to mimic voices and stuff when I was a kid. I got a big kick out of that. And so I used to like copy my friends' voices and stuff. And my father, when he lived with us, was a big Richard Pryor fan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who was maybe one of the greatest stand-up comedian ever, but not PG. And I can remember, the records would play. I was in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and I would imitate him and do the jokes. And he thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And then one day we did Bring Dad to Work Day, and he came in to talk about being an auto mechanic. And I thought it was like, oh, now's a good time to launch into the Richard Pryor thing. That makes my dad laugh. And he was like, no!
Oh my God.
Not what it was like to be strangled by an auto mechanic.
And then that's when the parents always like, they've never done this before. I don't know where it's
coming from. Where did you hear this?
I don't know what's happening. Okay, well, tell us about The Way Back. Tell us about the new movie.
We find this guy very much like down on his luck. He's drinking a case of beer a day. He's living in a kind of dingy apartment. He's got a job. He works construction, but he's separated from his wife, and you can tell he's not happy and he's not engaged in life.
Yeah.
And throughout the course of the movie, you start to find out kind of what happened that got him to that place. And also, he gets offered the job to coach the high school basketball team that he used to play for.
Yeah.
And he was like a big high school star. Doesn't want to do it. He's afraid. He's nervous. But finally, he takes the job. It's one of those things where he thinks he's going to kind of come in and really coach them and teach them, and probably he gets more out of it, the relationship, than the kids do.
That's what I was going to say.
It's really incredible, and it doesn't pull any punches in terms of life is hard. You're going to have problems. You're going to suffer. It's going to be difficult. Sometimes really, really hard, but still says things can get better.
Yeah.
You can conquer your problem. You can climb over these walls. You can improve your life and be hopeful and inspiring, and that's what I really loved about it.
Yeah.
And it's a joyful experience for me. I really love doing it. I love those guys. It kind of rekindled my love for acting, and and I'm really proud of the movie.
Yeah, it's one of those movies, it means something. The message is so, it's not just a movie you laugh at, and those are all great too, but I like that it had a really solid message. I like that, and I always say this, we have a lot of different stories on this show. Everybody's addicted to something. It might not be so obvious that it's alcohol for you or drugs or whatever, but everybody has that, and I love the redemption factor of the film, and I feel like it's very relatable. And is there a reason why you wanted to sign up to do this one?
Yeah, well, I mean, for all those reasons, I agree with you that compulsive behavior, we have this brain that sort of works like a reward center, right? Our brain tells us we eat food and it sends a little bit of reward, dopamine or serotonin or whatever.
Yes, mine's sugar. What? Yeah.
And so I think you point out the fact that it's not, yes, you can look at things kind of isolated in silos and go, well, that's an opioid addict problem. That's an alcohol problem.
Yeah.
That's a compulsive shopping problem. That's anorexia. That's overeating. That's gambling. That's porn. And
it
then
all comes
all of
from
a
the
sudden
same
you
place.
see that basically it's a lot of different behaviors, But what they're all trying to do is like get at some feeling of discomfort.
Yeah.
You know, they're trying to solve that by doing something that is clearly not good for them, not healthy.
Yeah.
You know it mentally, you know it in the front brain, but that like other part keeps asking for that reward and that good feeling, and then you create a kind of two minds. Like, I know I don't want to do this, and yet I kind of can't stop. And that's when it goes from being, you know, something healthy and celebratory, like alcohol should be great, have a drink, celebrate if you can do that, to something that's like, you know, this is clearly not helping my life, and yet I'm still doing it. So why is that? And I think the movie takes a good look at that in a way that's not, you know, it's not a sermon, it's not a lecture. That's like for church and school, and that you go to movies to be inspired. And to find out that like what was really important about me for that, being a recovering alcoholic myself, is that you're not defined by your problems. That's not who you are. Whatever it is, the issues, you're not the bankrupt person, you're not the overeater, you're not the opioid addict, you're like a whole big complicated person, and that's one part of it. And also, we tend to see those problems when they arrive in our lives and kind of sit in them and go, nah, I'm stuck. You're not stuck. You can move past that stuff, you can change your life, you can make it better.
I agree. I love that the film, though, humanized that. And it's just a really, really great message. Be sure to catch The Way Back in theaters tomorrow. I can't recommend it enough. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to my channel. Please don't make me keep going.